Hello everyone, my name is Garrett Gamber, and welcome back to the Diablo 3 Necromancer beta. I'm adjusting my chair here because, for some reason, when I got up, my chair said, hey, I'm gonna roll on away from you. That's great. So I'm sitting here, and I think I've discovered an interesting start of a build. I've been saying, over and over again, I've wanted a frost build to work for the longest time, and we may have something here that I discovered. Or at least, I think I've hit on something. So, I've changed up my build a bit. I'm no longer using Land of the Dead. As much as I like to use Land of the Dead, of course the Johnstone is now absolutely worthless for me. I only have it on because it's a level 70 item. I'll be replacing it with something else. But, what I've discovered is that by taking Land of the Dead off and replacing it with Bone Armor, and right now I'm using the Stun version of Bone Armor, I'm able to pop Bone Armor, I'm able to stun enemies. You're probably thinking, why does stun have anything to do with freezing? Well, I've been using my frozen command skeletons, and I found on occasion they will automatically leap towards a target without, after killing a target, they'll leap towards another target without me actually proccing it. I can still actively, press 2 and have them go wherever I want them to go and freeze enemies. So they're freezing, I'm able to stun enemies. This Army of the Dead has been going up like crazy. My cooldown is not that good, but Army of the Dead has been proccing like balls because of this. I don't even have max cooldowns, so something is working here. And ultimately what I'm coming to, the thing I'm coming to, is Kisben's sentence, which I overlooked before for some reason. It rolled kinda shit. As you can see, it's maximum bonus is 100%, and this says you deal, in this case, 85% increased damage against slowed enemies, or triple this bonus against enemies afflicted by any other type of controlling impair effect. So that is a big buff. So at maximum, that's 100% damage whenever I slow an enemy. I have bone spikes, frost spikes. So I'll cast that, and that will slow enemies that move into that, or the enemies it hits. That's already a bit of additional damage. So in this case, that's 85% damage, or at the maximum, 100% damage that can be dealt to that target. But then on top of it, it says, or triple this bonus. So 100 times 3 is 300% increased damage. That's increased damage. That's not additional damage. That is increased damage. 300% increased damage against enemies afflicted by any other type of control impairing effect, i.e. the frost skeletons and stunning. So I'll do that. Skeletons will march in, and then it's gravy. They've been frozen, they've been slowed. That's 400% increased damage overall. That is ridiculous. This ring, I think, is better than Convention of Elements, because I was actually thinking about squeezing Convention of Elements in, and then I was like, oh, I need the Obsidian Ring of the Zodiac, don't I? But I actually don't. I don't need the Ring of the Zodiac with this build. And I thought I would need to because of the Army of the Dead cooldown. It's still a long cooldown, not to mention, but I'm seeing it proc within under 20 seconds on occasion. So this build is working. This build is working. I'm still using Contamination, unless the Frost Skeletons actually do something, which... No, they're not that good. Unless of course, when I get Tasker and Theo, if that attack speed increase is ridiculous, but so far it appears that the Skeletal Mages, the poison version, is the best I can get. And the beautiful thing about this ring is that it doesn't differentiate between the type of damage that I'm dealing. This opens up the door for so many new kinds of builds. It really does, because that's 400% damage maximum you can deal if you've landed a slow and you've been able to hit them with another crowd control effect. This ring is probably one of the best items in the game. And I don't think it's just for necromancers. It says it has some necromancer lore, so I don't know. This is a PTR. Maybe it is meant for necromancers. But the beautiful thing is, it opens the door for hundreds of different builds, just this ring alone. I've also cubed a few items here. Obviously, Staff of the Cycle. That seems to be really important, but I really want to get Reinhardt. I've been saying Chillrend. It's Reinhardt, Chillrend is in Skyrim. I'm thinking, this is 300% additional damage whenever Bone Armor is active, and that's why I have Bone Armor, which is really useful. But maybe I could be putting, this slot towards more minions or something else that's useful. Your secondary skills deal 300% additional damage while Bone Armor is active. For now, that's a huge upgrade. I have Leoric's Crown still. I want to get Tasker and Theo and try that out. So, Reinhardt and Tasker and Theo, these are things I need to test. I think Tasker and Theo is still going to be very useful. If it isn't, there is a item that deals with frost damage. So I don't know how this is going to look when I'm done. But I've also got Wisdom of Kalan. For now, increases the maximum stacks of Bone Armor by 5. In hindsight, I probably should... I didn't realize the ring was this good. I should have cubed that and put Wisdom on. But Wisdom is an amulet, and I was thinking, well, maybe I can still make Land of the Dead work. So I messed up, so I'm going to have to rebuy those rings and amulets. But let's take a look here. My musings. I need to see... Where's that gauntlet? There it is, Frostburn. Deal 20% increased damage and have 50% chance to freeze enemies. Now see, that's really important. That is really important because whenever I use this and this, that can also freeze enemies. I mean, this is a guaranteed freeze, but that's only against one target when they do it. I mean, they murder the shit out of that target, but maybe Frostburn is more important than Tasker and Theo for this particular version of the build. Because, again, these skeletons attack really fast, and they all attack at once when they command. The fact that I have a button press makes it even more quick and efficient. So Tasker and Theo might be a waste of my time. I don't know this, obviously. It's a guess, but I'm already dealing a metric shit ton of damage to targets, and I don't even have a full, optimized set of gear. But it's working. It's working. Everything gets murdered before it has a chance to react. This volume is kinda loud. It seems... Can we turn down the music? Thank you. That music is... There we go. Okay. Hopefully that's a little bit better. But I'm working this out in my head. And so far, I haven't had reason to doubt what I'm doing is probably one of the best ways I can imagine to build a Frost build. And I want Reinhardt to work. This is a sword that Blizzard put in the game for a reason. It's not a useless item. It has a use. But it has needed much love and TLC for the longest period of time. Took too long to kill that enemy there. I should be using Army of the Dead more. Now I have no reason not to. When they group up like that, it makes the skeletal mages just mess their shit up. And because of this ring, once they're frozen, it doesn't matter that it's no longer the cold damage that I was building initially to deal extra damage. The, holy shit. The ring doesn't care what element damage you're using. So it's like having a lightning wizard without the necessity of the lightning being something that you have to use. Now, Essence hasn't been much of an issue, because I now have a generator. And the generator is, so far, proven very useful at getting resource when I need it the most. The enemies are dying so quick, too, I'm getting most of what I'm putting into the fight in return in corpses. Can you imagine with a couple of primals how useful this would be? Let's Let's move on through. The one thing we don't have is mobility. And I was trying different alterations of this build. I was trying to make myself have like movement speed. I even tried the bone armor that freezes enemy. That does cold damage and gives me movement speed, and that didn't seem to actually do much. I was thinking about getting the teleport ability, blood ability that lets you teleport. Then I realized this build doesn't even use any life regeneration, so that probably would have been more harmful than anything else. But on top of it, I don't think we really need mobility. I mean, I could see this being a problem later on if you're too slow. That was probably a waste of an army of the dead, but whatever. We'll get it back in no time flat. Oh, we got a channeling pylon. And that just makes things even crazier. Let's take all these. That's crazy. So I'm like a short-range rail cannon. I noticed that you can actually spawn these skeleton mages sometimes through walls on occasion. It's not very often, but sometimes you can actually aim them through a wall. And that, I don't know if that's intentional. Maybe it's a little bit cheap. But there's a lot of characters that can spawn or shoot beams or weapons through walls. Again, probably not the best use of a Army of the Dead. But we are seeing it off of cooldown a lot sooner. I was complaining before about the cooldown, and I definitely wasn't using an optimized build for that. Despite not having all the items I probably should have, this is working in my favor. I can only imagine if I get the items I really think I need, see what will happen with it. I am thinking Frostburn might be better for this build, already. And again, my reasoning for that is the freeze duration, being able to more persistently freeze them with my frost damage would make Reinhardt so useful. But Frostburn's not going to come in that much handy if I don't have that freeze. So those two items are linked together. They're linked together. Like toast and butter. So see, even without clicking anything, my skeletons immediately move in on the enemy. They immediately move in on the enemy. And I don't know if that's intentional. See, they just jump from target to target. So Tasker and Theo is almost inconsequential. In my opinion, I haven't actually seen its effects with the skeletons. Since they all attack at once, it's as if they have an upgrade over Tasker, because they're all doing damage at the same time for that initial strike. And the fact that the enemy's frozen, they're not going anywhere. And they freeze Rift Guardians. They freeze Rift Guardians. My issue that I've always thought about with frost damage builds is that, oh, it's not going to be able to, you know, you're not going to be able to freeze the Rift Guardian, but you can. Look at that burst. Look at that damage. Just got a bunch of stuff, a lot of goodies. Actually don't know how good any of it's going to be. Generates, still not something I really care about, but take whatever we can get right now. So again, if this frost build actually works up into something, I am thinking we're gonna need the cold gem that drops from the Greater Rifts. This is all just speculation, but so far this build is probably the strongest frost build I've ever seen in Diablo. Hey, look what we got. We got our first Ancient. And it's not bad. It's not the best, but it's much better than what we had. we got that. We don't exactly need that. I'll hang on to it for now. Don't exactly really use for it, but I am liking this build. I'm liking this build. I completely just was goofing around earlier today, and I was like, hey, this kind of makes sense. This kind of makes sense. And so far in practice, I'm seeing a lot of return for it. Like, this is helping me out immensely. So we're going to do another rift here. Enemies are resisting my damage a bit more, and that's probably because I don't have an emerald socketed in my weapon. I definitely need to remedy that situation. And the mobility is an issue. This is not a secret. So maybe the bone armor version of this isn't going to last forever. But I think that already the frost build seems to be kicking ass. Oh, that's a shield pylon. I can't die. And now you're dead. So for that duration that they're frozen, they are taking 85% extra damage 3 times over, and if I'm able to actually slow them, well, they take even more. I gotta get my bone armor off more. On occasion, I forget about it, and that's bad. It's not like the wizard's shields. You can't just forget about your armor. The stacks vanish. Having more stacks is good. I mean, it gives us more defense. And I guess maybe, if anything, that's the only reason to keep bone armor in this build, is for the extra beefiness. Because the Necromancer has a serious squish issue. A lot of their abilities either take life or put them in harm's way to some degree, or requires something in return. The Necromancer really requires dead bodies to do most of their stuff. That is the biggest weakness of the Necromancer. And that's why I think corpse builds are not going to be very useful, kind of like they were in Diablo 2. Early on, you had your fun with it, and then you were like, oh, this is really shit because I can't kill anything fast enough to, you know, make up for it. Dead there. Ow. I think we can only go a couple more torment levels before we reach our cap for the items we have. That is my first death. Wow. I deserve that. I stood in it like an idiot. Doesn't matter how much armor you have. If something wants to kill you, it kills you. I like this build though. I like it a lot. This is also one of the new maps they added into the game in Rift form. It looks really cool. It reminds me a lot of Minas Morgul from Lord of the Rings. As you can tell by the spiky nature, the vine-like natures on the wall. It's very Lord of the Rings. It feels very Lord of the Rings. But then it's got, you know, that, I don't know, sort of Diablo feel about it. High cathedral windows and shit like that. It's very pretty. I like it. Am I strange for thinking this would be a very pretty place to live? I don't know. I like gloom. I like sharp architecture. Not everyone likes the same kind of building structures, but I do. See, I'm spamming my minions too much. That is contributing to the cooldown factor, but maybe I shouldn't spam it as much, considering my essence costs. Everything just gets blown to pieces. Again, this is probably why Frostburn would be really useful, because every time I use my spikes, I have a 50% chance to freeze an enemy anyways, and it would be a group of enemies. So even without the Reinhardt, I'm able to apply some level of... I cast my bone armor there, but apparently it didn't count. Okay, that's cool. Even without Reinhardt, freezing them causes that ringed proc. So that would be most useful, in my opinion. Come on, let's destroy them. Oh, I love this build. I love this build. I'm having so much fun playing this. This is like the first time I discovered the Hammerden build for the Crusader. Same fucking joy. Frostburn. This is crazy. I love this. I love this. I can imagine in group combat this would be even more effective. Army of the Dead is down. Oh, never mind, didn't even need it. Size Stone of Vengeance. Is that Size Stone? I think so. Yes, it was. Yes, it was. 20% chance to stun the enemy. That doesn't seem like it's going to work with what we have currently, because we're getting relatively close to use our Army of the Dead. I want to see the Frost Gem, and I'm thinking the one that increases... So, obviously the one that slows enemies around us, and also ends up slowing and increasing our damage versus impaired movement enemies. Then we want to see possibly the Frost Gem, because I think it's going to have something to do with this. Hopefully. I want to see that gem get some love too. I love ice. I love ice. That's my thing. But then we need the one, I forgot the name of it. It's a gem that increases your attack speed and your cooldown reduction. Or, no, not attack speed, sorry. It increases your dodge chance, but then it increases cooldown reduction. I can't remember what the proc is for that, but if it is what I think it is, it should do nicely. So I'm going to end this episode here. Thank you all so much for watching. I wanted to get that Paragon level. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Extra essence. Never hurt anyone. This is working out really nicely, and I am enjoying this class so much. So if you think that this build has any merit, say something in the comments below. I'll show you the items I have. Obviously, I've got the set. You need the set. The Ring of Road Grandeur is not a part of this build, so don't even think of it. This is inconsequential right now. It's helping me out, but it's not really part of it. So I've got, obviously, the Circle of you know what? We're going to call it Julian. We're going to call it Julian. Circle of Julian's love. So, we have Circle of Julian's love, and raises an extra mage. That is important. That's very important. Rolled with a perfect buff. That's great. I like that. We have Kisben's Sentence. I think I need to cube that for the maximum bonus. And then, of course, replace that with the Wisdom of Kalan. Replace this, the Johnstone, with the Wisdom of Kalan. We are using the Scythe of the Cycle. Again, I'm not sure that's as powerful as it is. I mean, obviously, the bigger part of this would be seeing if Reinhardt will work. And for Reinhardt to work, we need the Frostburn Gauntlets. So it's kind of a trade kind of system here. We have to go through that to get the thing that we need to make it work. Because, what is it, 14,000 or 12,000 or whatever Reinhardt does for damage is so much more than 300% additional damage. Additional damage is not a lot. When it says additional, that's not as much as you'd think. It just means that whatever skill you had did 300% more damage. Not total damage, it's just a little bit extra. So as powerful as, our skeletal mages are, that's not going to be as much as a whopping hit, because basically Reinhardt is like having Army of the Dead in a single proc, but Frostburn is going to make that actually proc more, possibly, because it's based off of being frozen as opposed to just dealing damage. And since Frostburn has a chance to freeze whenever you do frost damage, I think it works. I think it works. It sounds like it's work. Reworks Crown, we're using that for now. We don't actually need it. Let me buy the... yeah, the rings. We'll buy the rings. Give me... will it give me the same rings? I think it did. I think it did give me the same rings. Hopefully it did. So this is all speculation, but I think this build will work. I really do. Do I have enough stuff? Well, that one gave me 100%. That one gave me 100% right off the bat. No, we don't have really anything. So we'll equip that for now. It's weaker than what we have. Now raise an additional skill mage. Yeah. It's technically weaker than what we have, but whatever. It gives us the 100% increased damage. That's important. I'll have to get more blood shards and get the amulet, and then replace. I'll absorb this. Sorry, I'll absorb this. Doesn't matter which I absorb, really. And put another ring in there instead. That one came out pretty good. Nope, that's the same ring we have. Never mind. Probably that one, since it's new. There are probably better rings in the slot. Maybe, because of this switching, we can put that in the cube, and we can have an open slot for the ring of... what's the name? Convention of Elements. So maybe this still works out. I don't think I need the Ring of the Zodiac. But maybe that would work. I don't think it will, though, just because we have to keep casting this, and that takes up a good deal of essence for the Zodiac Ring to actually work. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. Thank you all so much for watching. Hope you're enjoying the series so far. Have a nice day.